Hey guys, welcome to the Criminal Lineup. We are an independent YouTube channel that chronicles interesting history, mystery, and crime stories. If you would like the video and subscribe to the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get started with the video. Gunther Stoll, an unemployed German food engineer from Anshausen, Germany, began suffering from an acute case of paranoia throughout 1984. He often spoke to his wife about people who wanted to do him harm, and was clearly fearing for his life. One day in October 1984, Stoll declared to his wife that he had finally understood something, and wrote 6 letters on a piece of paper, which spelled out the phrase YOGTZE. Gunther then quickly crossed it out, and without explaining further, he left his home to visit a public house in Wilmsdorf. It would be the last time his wife saw him alive, and his subsequent and mysterious death has never been fully explained. In today's episode of the Criminal Lineup, we are going to take a look at the case of Gunther Stoll, also known as the Autobahn Riddle. Not much is known of Gunther Stoll until the events prior to his mysterious death. He was a 34-year-old man from Germany who had previously worked as a food service engineer and lived in Anshausen with his wife. For some time, he had been suffering from the effects of acute paranoia, and often spoke to his wife about his fears, making reference to them and those on numerous occasions. Sadly, he never clarified these suspicions, except for telling his wife, "They're on my tail," and alluding that these people wanted to do something to him, possibly harm. These fears culminated on October 25, 1984. At 11:00 p.m., Stoll was sitting in an armchair at his family home. Suddenly, he rose to his feet, and in the presence of his wife, exclaimed in a loud, excited voice, "Now I've got it." He then wrote down 6 letters on a piece of paper, spelling out the phrase YOGTZE before crossing it out. Stoll then left his house and went to his favorite pub in Wilmsdorf, where he ordered himself a pint and promptly fell off his chair to the ground, injuring his face. It's believed he was not under the influence of alcohol, and several witnesses later testified how he had lost consciousness. When he awoke, he said to the innkeeper and other patrons that he had suddenly gone. After this, he abruptly left the pub and drove away in his light blue Volkswagen Golf, but his whereabouts directly after the pub visit are unknown. His next known movements were around 1:00 a.m. when he appeared in Heigerselbach, where he had grown up. He then visited an old family friend that he had known from his childhood. She was an old religious woman who lived near his parents. Stoll confided in her that he foresaw a terrible event that night, telling her, "Something's going to happen tonight, something pretty terrifying." Because of the early hour of his visit and his confused demeanor, the old woman advised him to go back to his parents' house and speak with them. She said Stoll refused, saying they would not understand his concerns. Instead, he said he would go home and speak with his wife, and then soon left. Around 3 a.m., Stoll's car was discovered by 2 truck drivers near the Hagensud exit, over 100 kilometers from Heigerselbach. His car had crashed into a trench adjacent to the A45 motorway. Both truck drivers would later testify that they saw an injured person wearing a white jacket walking near the crashed vehicle. One truck driver went to contact law enforcement. The other checked on the wreckage and found Stoll inside the car, severely injured and without clothing. He was barely conscious, but was able to explain that 4 other male individuals had been in the car with him, but had ran away. When Stoll was asked if they were his friends, he denied it. On the way to the hospital, Stoll died from his injuries. During the subsequent investigation, detectives surmised this was no routine traffic accident. Firstly, it was unexplained why Stoll was found naked, and secondly, his injuries were not consistent with the circumstances in which his car was found, meaning he was injured elsewhere before the accident and then placed in his car afterwards and driven to the location where he was finally discovered. Because of the lack of clothing, it was determined he was naked during the time he was run over and then placed in the passenger seat of his own car. Other drivers reported seeing a hitchhiker near the YOGTZE exit, but neither this person or the man seen wearing a white jacket have ever been formally identified. Other drivers reportedly saw a pickup truck at the ramp at Hagen South, heading in the direction of Frankfurt. However, this vehicle was never located. Investigators looked into Stoll's history, but he had no criminal record. They also discounted the theory that he had contact with drug dealers in the Netherlands on holidays, and being a factor in his death. The meaning of the note and the letters YOGTZE left by Stoll at his home has remained an equally mysterious element to a confounding case. The word has not been found in any language. Stoll's wife claims she discarded the note on the night of his death. However, a copy was made based on her memory. It has been proposed that the G was actually intended to be the number 6, and this actually stood for the call sign of a Roman radio station, YO6TZE. But it has never been linked to the events that occurred that night. On April 12, 1985, the Autobahn Riddle case was presented on the popular German television show Case File XY. Ever since, it has remained one of the most mysterious cases in German criminal history.